do you see him as at all representative of the end of the American presidency?
Yes, I do. I think Roosevelt, as you know from the book, I think Franklin Roosevelt is this point where the presidency is perhaps most successful and now most set up to fail, right? And this is a classical tale, right? Of the moment of greatest victory is the moment you're set up for the greatest defeat. And I think Kennedy is exhibit A of that. No president wanted to be Franklin Roosevelt more than John F. Kennedy. He actually hired historians when he was elected and asked them, how can I be Franklin Roosevelt? That's why historians at that time wrote nice things about it, because he hired them and said, tell me how to be like Franklin Roosevelt. Obama did something similar too, by the way. And the problem is he couldn't, because Roosevelt had created so many obligations for the presidency, Social Security, CCC, WP, all these things the government was doing, and then all the international stuff, reconstructing Germany and Japan. And Kennedy found himself, as I try to show in the chapter, he found himself in a situation where he was pulled in so many directions, and it was very hard to actually accomplish anything. And you see this in day-to-day activities. And then he falls into a lot of really stupid decisions, I have to say, because he's not taking the time to really think things through. His urge is always to do more, to be more like Roosevelt, which means we get mission creep, Vietnam, Bay of Pigs, things that never should have been part of American priorities become priorities because they're things he thinks he can do, and he's afraid he'll be criticized for not doing so.
Now, did he have priorities, or that just everything was sort of on an equal playing field, or?
You know, I don't think he had priorities. I think he also, this is a larger cultural statement, but I think the hubris of power in the United States in the Cold War is the hubris of believing we can do everything, everywhere, all the time. And that was the Kennedy image, right? That's actually what makes him alluring, right? The macho, I can do everything, the new frontier. Will be the smartest, the strongest, the fastest, right? Anything you can do, I can do better. And that is historically untenable, but that's what made him so electable. People like that. That's the problem, right? The campaign is different from the reality of policymaking.
And since he presumably doesn't have the enduring accomplishments that the Roosevelts, Washington, Lincoln, and Jackson have, what are the things that we remember him for, or that historians remember him for not accomplishing?
Well, so not accomplishing, not getting us out of Vietnam. In fact, getting us in. He had real choice. He could have ended it. Not getting us
been a priority.
Yeah. Or if it had not been, if he had not, it's that he allowed that to continue and in fact increased our commitment in Vietnam, making it harder for Lyndon Johnson to get out. So that's one example. At home, he came to support civil rights, but very late, and actually did relatively little for it, right? He was constantly doing a little bit of everything. And so it's the absence of real civil rights legislation. It's the absence of a recognition the United States was overextended in Vietnam. It's the absence of effort to prevent ourselves from getting into a mess in Cuba. He gets us out of the Cuban Missile Crisis, but that's after a failed invasion of Cuba and continued efforts to try to assassinate Fidel Castro. So in every area, it's what we see with Kennedy is potential, but very little follow through.
One thing I find interesting, though, is that you think that the president ought to be this sort of mythological figure, but I think of JFK as the epitome of the mythological figure. But maybe it's because we mythologize what he might have done.
Yeah, and he's forever young for us. What I gave you what I think many historians would say about JFK, but I think it's different from the public. He's always rated as like one of the top 10 American presidents. Why? Because he's attractive, he's young, and he wasn't there long enough to really fully fail. So it's all potential. It's all potential. I see that. That's attractive, right? We all want to be forever young.